Well, good evening, everyone. It's Al with Longoria House Dog Training in Houston, Texas. It is 8 p.m. Time for another one of these live question and answer shows. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys that's watching this. Thank you for allowing me to do what I love to do for a living, which is to help you raise a happy and reliable dog. So if you're watching this, even at watching it after the fact, if you have questions that you want answers to, please drop those down in the comments section below. I'm always happy to answer those. We'll make some videos, we'll make some memes, I'll do some funny stuff, but hey, love to help you guys with the dog training. And also if you're my friend and you're signing in, make sure you say hello. And but thanks again for watching tonight. I'm gonna do just a couple of things to make sure that this does look like I want it to look. And if you can hear me fine right now, hey, why don't you hit that heart button or hit the like button just to let me know that the audio is actually good. So the format of these is it is a question and answer show. And what I want to do is typically I have, a set of questions written down that we've received over the course of the week. And so then I'm going to go through each one of those questions, kind of pick it apart, give you what's on my mind, the things that I'm thinking about there, to be able to provide value so that way I can help you with your dog. But hey, if, like I said, if you have a specific question that you want to ask me, that's what this is all about, is about giving me those questions for me to answer. So, hey, hi to everybody, my friends and my followers. Thanks so much for joining in tonight. So I've got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. Oh, 7. I got a back page. So I got a list of 7 questions that I'm going to start off with just as a primer to go. But hey, if you would help me, there's 2 things you could do. Please ask questions. And then also, if you'll go down in this bottom section and hit the share button, so that way people can know that we've started the live stream and maybe they can tune in, maybe they get something out of it, maybe they ask a question. That means a lot to me. Hey Maria, nice to hear from you. It was nice reading your post today about how we're always working on focus, and man, that's just the thing, we're always working on that. So hey Mike, thanks for joining in tonight. Hey Mandy, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate each and every one of y'all. So I recently received a question today, and the question is which tool is best for a dog? And I think the question really is like, hey, how do I actually get my dog to become obedient? And dog training tools are a big part of making your dog become obedient, but the tool in and of itself isn't what actually gets your dog to become obedient. What actually gets a dog to become obedient and to become a good family member is the way that they relate to the human. But the tool actually allows you to be able to relate to your dog in a meaningful way. So let me give you an example of one tool. Let's say that you actually wanted your dog to come more quickly to you when you called him. The tool that I would choose to get my dog to come faster would first be a harness, and second would be some kind of toy like a ball and a string or something like that. Why would I choose the harness and why would I choose the ball and the string? Well, many dogs have prey drive, and if you have a ball and a string, here I'll pull one of mine out real quick. Let's see, got one right here. If you have a ball and a string like this, and then you begin to flick it around, many dogs will begin to chase that, okay? So that's the prey drive. It builds that excitement in the dog. But then if I have a harness and I have a ball, I would have my training partner then hold the dog back in a harness as I tease them with a ball. You may say, like, hey, Al, that's not fair. Well, it is fair, because what we're going to do with the dog is we're going to frustrate the dog by teasing him with the ball that he so much wants. And then when he's at the peak of his excitement, that's when I'm going to use my command, like here. I like to use my dog's name. And then my training partner lets go of the dog, and then they get to play with the ball that I have. And so this is a really the harness there would be a fantastic tool for making your recall even faster. And that technique that I just described is what's called a restrained recall. But back to it, what is the best tool for a dog? Well, what's the best tool for maybe Leash pulling. So leash pulling in general, my answer would be the 2¼ millimeter Herm Sprenger prong collar or the 3 millimeter Herm Sprenger prong collar. How are you going to know which prong collar is actually going to tell the dog to pull less? You have to kind of guess. I guess based on my decade of experience, okay? But if you don't know, then maybe you start with the gentler prong collar before you go to the more powerful one. But well before I actually start training with the prong collar to tell the dog not to pull, I'm going to focus on the thing that I actually want the dog to do, which is to have a wonderful time, a pleasurable and comfortable and wonderful time for actually being on the side of my body that I want the dog to be on. Okay, so prong collars. Herm Sprenger prong collars are pretty good, but let me give you a little bit of insight here. I've also used the Star Mark prong collars, and those come in small, medium, and larges. I've used those collars. I've also used a slip leash to help a dog to understand not to pull, and any one of those could possibly do the job, but the thing is, you won't know until you begin to deploy the tool and see if you actually get a reduction in pulling. Now, the tool in and of itself, like I said, isn't going to do the work. You have to actually pair the tool up to a technique. Here's another case in point. This evening, I had a 3 millimeter Herm Sprenger prong collar on an English sheepdog that he would keep pulling. And so what we did is every time the dog got out in front of us, I would put pressure down the leash and then get the dog behind me with pressure on the leash. Once he was behind me, I would relax the leash. I had never used that technique before, but in 4 repetitions, I was able to see my client move forward 5 or 10 steps, and the dog would then not cross the front of his body, and then he could get the dog to sit and make reward. So there's a lot of different tools, the harness, the prong collar, okay? You could use a ball. All these tools are going to matter, but really what it depends on is what is it that you're trying to do with the dog. Another tool that people use, we use these, we use the mini educator, okay? The mini educator is a really nice low power remote collar. And I like to use that tool, okay, to touch dogs. I also use it to tell some dogs no. But here's another example. Even though this is the mini educator, there is also the educator and the boss. And a few months ago, I had a dog that was human and dog aggressive, and I used the boss, which was a higher power remote collar, to be able to tell the dog that, hey, it's a bad idea to become aggressive towards humans and towards other dogs. And the dog quickly began to calm down and relax in the presence, and then we actually started being able to reward the dog more and more. So, I guess what it is that I'm trying to say here is that there's so many different training tools, and you really want to focus more on rewarding what it is that you want, and then maybe getting a professional dog trainer involved to be able to help you to understand, like, how do I deploy the right tool? But I'm going to be putting more and more videos out so that way you can get the insight to understand, like, okay, I can't hire a pro, I can't get Al to come out to me, so I'm going to use a tool, I'm going to watch Al use it and see if I can understand the nuances to being able to read my dog and understand which tool is important. But like I always like to tell anybody, you want to keep your training very simple. You want to make it clear to the dog how to win. You want to make it clear to the dog where the boundary is, and that's where the success that you're going to achieve with your dog really comes from, is from those things. Okay. So the next thing that I have up on my list is, what alternatives do I have to using a leash inside my home? And this question is actually coming from a place where people are, walking in the door, their dog is jumping all over them. So what are some of the alternatives that you can use? Well, I know this is going to be a little bit of a funny answer, but the alternatives to not using a leash whenever you walk in the door are getting scratched up by your dog, getting jumped all over, okay, getting frustrated with your dog. Those are truly the alternatives if you have a dog that is excited and out of control. But you say, well, Al, how am I ever going to get to the point where my dog actually listens to me? Well, Listening isn't, your dog isn't going to really listen to you because of the words that are coming out of your mouth. Your dog is going to listen to you because of the way that you use your leash and the way that you use the food. You got to build value into your voice. Our voices actually don't have a whole bunch of value to the vast majority of dogs when they're little puppies. They'll hear the voice and we'll be cute and cuddly with them, and yeah, that means something, but it'll never mean as much as a piece of food, maybe petting the dog or playing with a ball or a leather rag or something like that. But whenever you use your voice in conjunction with their snacks, with their treats, with their food, with your leash, with your remote, with the toys, if you use your leash or if you use your voice in conjunction with any of those things, then your voice begins to take on the attributes of those particular things. And then your voice actually becomes more and more powerful. So, what alternatives do you have to using a leash in your home? Well, it's really going to test your patience a lot. And when your patience gets tested a lot, this is when people make the decision to get rid of dogs. So put a leash on your dog. Use the leash, help the dog understand. So I would encourage you, maybe for this week, if this is you, if your dog is the one that's jumping all over your guests, jumping all over your dogs, jumping all over you every single time that you're around it, keep a leash on your dog. And every time that you want to talk, grab your leash first and see what a difference that's going to make. And I guarantee you, 99% of the time, you're going to make a significant improvement in your dog's behavior in 1 week simply by having a leash on your dog. Okay, guys. Question number 3. I know some of you guys have questions. If you don't have any questions, hit that share button. I sure would love to help some people. Okay, so here's what's next. How can you tell when the dog is hopeful and the hope is actually rewarding the dog? This was a question that we received from last week, that many dogs, as you begin to practice with them, the dog actually begins to become hopeful, and they're like, okay, I know that the reward is going to come at any moment. But how do you actually know when that is happening? Well, here's a little bit of insight, but I can't give you a 100% clear question because honestly, I just don't know. But here is what my assumption is. If your dog becomes very hopeful over its food or its ball, and you know that they're holding a particular position, let's say like they're holding a sit stay, and you're really trying to get them to hold that sit stay, look at the amount of focus that's in the dog's face and on their body. If you can see that the dog is particularly focused, okay, and they've been holding it for a while, they're going to be experiencing hope. But hope will eventually turn to frustration if it's not met. So what you want to do with the dog is you want to keep the reward coming, but you got to have to guess a little bit to keep the dog hopeful that it's going to appear. And that's really how you're going to know. You're going to read the dog, look at the body language, see if they're focused. A calm dog is generally not hopeful, okay? A calm dog is just kind of passive. They don't have any conscious thoughts going on, okay? They're just kind of waiting there, for the next thing to stimulate them. But, okay, a hopeful dog is probably very focused because they're looking for the indication that the reward is about to happen. So that's a good way to know if your dog is actually being trained by hope. All right, so I've got a couple of questions, okay? Hey, Christy, thanks so much for your question. I appreciate you, okay? So how do I keep my dog from digging in the same spot every day? I've seen a lot of different things, and I've got to be honest with you. I've done quite a few things to kind of help dogs with digging. The first thing that you got to understand is that the digging is going to come from boredom. Your dog is just actually looking for something to do. If you don't mind, would you mind putting down what breed of dog that you have? Because I might be able to give you some additional insight. And if it's a mixed breed, what's your dog mixed with? So if your dog is digging in the same spot every day, that's just because the dirt smells great and it's cool on the paws and it's a lot of fun for your dog. And something that I learned at church that I'll go ahead and tell you now is that, if your dog is doing bad things, that means like the grass is greener on the other side and your dog is like, hey, I want to get to this. So if you want to replace that behavior, if you want to get rid of the digging, You could obviously try to do some things like other people recommend, and I've actually done this. You could put black pepper, or you could actually bury their poop in there, which I don't recommend doing that. But you could try to put different things in there so that way when they dig, you punish the digging for that spot, but then the dog's just going to move the behavior somewhere else and keep doing that. Okay, so husky and lab. Most likely it's the husky part of the dog that's telling it to dig, okay? Because those dogs, I've seen them that they like to burrow and get down into the dirt. So it is a little bit of an instinctive thing, okay? One thing that you could do, Christy, to kind of verify what I just said is if when you put your dog on their place inside your home, if they've got an elevated bed or a place that you put them on, if you see them really using their paws to dig in, that's one of the reasons. So your dog may be digging just to get comfortable. However, okay, let me give you a couple of things the way that I deal with it with my German Shepherds. So with my German Shepherds, the way that we prevent digging in the backyard is by actually playing other games with them. A lot of times the digging is going to happen when I'm not there, and then the dogs are going to be like, hey, there's nothing better to do, and I'm just going to dig a hole because this is fun. So if I go out there and I go out there every day, multiple times a day, and I play games that wear my dogs out, they never actually have the thought of digging because it just doesn't exist. I make some toys that are really fantastic for that. And, one of them is this particular toy right here. One thing I like to do with it, I just like to play fetch with this. When I play fetch with my dogs, I'll have 2 of these in the beginning to kind of help the dog understand that. But I begin to show the dog that every time we go in the backyard, we're going to play with this. I'll tell you this, even with my really athletic German Shepherds, about 15 minutes of play, 10 to 15 minutes of play by throwing a ball or playing tug with them is going to really do a good job of wearing the dog out. And if you also have a leash on them at the same time, as soon as you're done with playing with them, you can tell them to stay for a little bit on an elevated bed or a pet cot or something like that. And then they can learn that, hey, I'm going to play, there's going to be a lot of fun, and then they're going to ask me to de-escalate. And I love doing that, making my dog get excited, focusing them, and then getting them to come back down. But the digging is really because of boredom. Now, you could punish the behavior. And one way that you could punish the behavior is with a remote collar. The dog could be digging, and then you could say, stop digging, and then you could press a button that would make the dog uncomfortable. But I would warn you with using that technique, if there isn't a replacement behavior that the dog should be doing, or that you're interacting with them and that they know to do. Hey, Christy, I really hope that's helpful. Thanks so much for the question. All right, so hey Maria, I see you've got a question. Thanks so much. My puppy likes to sniff everything and also likes to lick all those messy smells. How do I get him to stop licking? And that's the question of the century, Maria. How do you get a dog to stop licking? Look, here it is, okay? With your puppy, obviously it's an instinctive thing for a dog to use their nose to get information, but they're also using their tongue to get some information about, hey, what's going on right there? But look, there's a couple of things that you can do with your puppy that are going to help. Okay, so one, you got to think about where is the reinforcement coming when the dog is actually sniffing and when the dog is licking that stuff, okay? So one, keeping the leash on your dog and then separating them from that. But if you're going to have licking behavior, why not direct it at something like this? Even though, I know I've used this used the ball several times as I've been talking tonight, but it's a really nice tool, and this is one of the reasons that I carry it. What I would probably do for your dog is I would actually load food into the cavity of this, and the places where I actually don't want my dog to do the licking and the licking behavior, I would begin to make them focus on this and be able to replace the behavior going that particular way. So you can actually put food on the inside of this, okay? And by doing that, that's going to direct the behavior where you want it to go. Then with your leash, let the dog go over to the thing that you don't necessarily want the dog to do. As soon as they go over there, use the leash to direct the dog back. Wait a couple of seconds, okay? So that way you don't directly reinforce the thing they were just smelling. Get the dog to focus on you or focus on the ball that has the scent. Count to 3 if the dog is focused, then begin to reinforce that particular behavior. And I think that's something that could be particularly useful. But the main thing, the main thing that I would do to stop the licking in general is I would definitely put it on a non-reinforcement schedule. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily use any positive punishment for that, but I would put the dog on a non-reinforcement schedule that each time that it started that, I would pull the dog away. I would frustrate it to the point where they couldn't get to it, that they would give up, and then I would redirect the behavior to something that I actually wanted the dog to do. Hey, thanks for the question. I hope that's helpful for you. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'm more than happy to take those. All right. Hey, Colton, see that you have a question. Okay. So how do I teach the dog the difference between her toys and my daughter's stuffed animals? It's really a question about boundaries. Okay. If your dog understands boundaries, then it's real easy. So look, I'm here inside my home and my kitchen is over this way. My dining room is right here. And then my living room is back over that way. And it's kind of an open concept right here in the room that I'm in, okay? And I'll tell you, understanding, like for me, to understand when I'm leaving the dining room and when I'm entering the living room is kind of a hard thing because there's not like it's all tile. There's not like a hard and fast line to be able to differentiate where does the dining room end and where does the living room begin. So this is why I'm such a big advocate for the elevated bed. If you have an elevated bed, okay, one of the things that your puppy's going to have to do is if they're on top of the elevated bed, they're then going to have to step off. And when they step off, that becomes a clear boundary for the dog. So step number one for you, man. Okay, step number one, get your puppy onto an elevated bed and reward the living daylights out of it. I mean that. The next 3 days, you are going to be obsessed with getting your dog on an elevated bed, getting your dog in the down position, butt down, elbows down, and then reward the dog like there's no tomorrow. However, be very careful about how excited you are when you make the rewards. I want all your rewards to be the calm style. So it shouldn't be like you get your puppy on the bed, you got this handful of food, and you're like, hey, what a great dog that is. Very good. No, do not do that. It's going to work against you. You should get the dog onto the bed, have a handful of food, control the food coming out of your hand slowly, and then slowly pet the dog as you're calmly talking to the dog like it's some kind of lullaby. And as you bring your voice down, your dog is going to become calm. Okay, that's step one, and it is a super important step. If you miss this step, then the next piece of advice I'm going to give you, it isn't going to work. Have a leash on your dog. Have a collar on your dog. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to throw some of that yummy food over the edge of the bed, about 2 feet away from the bed. You're going to let your puppy come off. But the second that the puppy, who has his, all 4 paws on the bed, steps off, at that moment when the puppy steps off, you're going to put pressure on the leash and get the puppy all the way back onto the bed, and then you're going to slack the leash. And you're going to keep throwing food off over the side of the bed, and then keep letting the puppy come off so you can put it back on. That's very important learning for your puppy. The first time that you see you throw food and the puppy doesn't step off, bring a handful of food to the dog's mouth, lower it back into the down, and make a significant reward because you want to reward that choice. So now, here's how you're going to differentiate between the dog's toys and your kids' toys. You're going to throw your kids' toys over the edge of the bed in a place that the dog can't get it, but it can see it. Let the dog come off, put the dog back on without getting the toy. Then bring the toys, like a ball like this, to the bed, put the food in there, let the dog associate that, oh, this one's mine. And keep doing that. Then you're going to show the dog that this place is where you get your reward, and all those other toys, they're off limits. And this is an excellent way to teach your dog how to differentiate and to know which toys belong to the dog and which toys belong to the humans. Hey man, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, and hey, I see that you want some of those beds. We do sell those beds. If you're wanting one, send me a message. Maybe we can work something out for you, okay? But yeah, those elevated beds, man, they're really good. They can really go a long way. Hey, Larissa, it's good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. Miss you guys, but really enjoyed training with y'all. Thanks so much for the opportunity to train with your pup. I hope you guys are doing well. Love to hear how you're doing. Okay. I've got two more questions. I'm gonna take a little sip real quick. Hey, you're welcome, man. Yeah, you're very welcome. Let me know how it goes for you. So, I do have another question. Hey, Christy, you're very welcome too. Let me know if that helps. And if you need me to kind of maybe visualize that for you, other than just a talking head. If you want to see that in reality, I'd love to be able to film something so that way you can understand what I was talking about. Well, guys, another question. I guess this is another question, but I wanted to talk about this. Do you guys know what this is? This is a power bank, but that's not really what I wanted to show you. This is the Amazon Echo. It's the thing that actually has Alexa on there. So what I want to show you guys is one of the things that the device does that some folks maybe don't know that this does that. Hey, if you have one of these devices, if you're watching this and you have one of these devices, will you hit the laughing icon, or just hit the laughing icon so that way I know if anybody that's watching right now actually has one of these devices. Okay, so there is a way with your Echo device to get the dog training tips that I'm creating. We're creating a ton of dog training tips right now for everybody. It's for anybody that speaks English and you have an Echo device. You're going to be able to get the dog training tips that I give. So, okay, I'm going to show you how to actually access the dog training tips. Okay, there's two skills, there's two apps on this device that I have, but I'm going to show you the one that gives you the daily dog training tips. So here we go. I've got the device there. I'm going to turn this red ring off by hitting this microphone right there, so you can see the microphone icon. I'm going to hit the microphone icon, and now it's on. It's actually listening to me and spying on me. I guess it is spying, right? Who knows if they're spying? Alexa, do you work for the federal government?
No, I work for Amazon.
Okay, so she's not spying on me. Hold on. Alexa, do you work for the Secret Service?
No, I work for Amazon.
Alexa, are you spying on me?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, so she's not sure. Maybe there's a chance that she actually is spying on me. I really don't know. Like, in all seriousness, I don't know if the device is spying on you, but I tell you, there's a lot of really cool stuff the device does. All right, so here's how you get your news out of the device. Alexa, what's the news?
Here's your flash briefing. From Longoria House, helping you raise a happy, reliable dog.
How is body language important when you're communicating to your dogs? What most people don't realize is that dogs actually have forms of communication. Okay, and I preach this
Alexa,
all the
stop.
time. So what you can see there is that you actually ask Alexa, you ask her, what is the news? And when you say that, if you've previously selected my Amazon Echo skill and it's free, then you're going to get that news tip absolutely for free. And there's a brand new one every single day. So, hey, if you're thinking about getting one of these, maybe you're getting one for Christmas, really cool device. It does a whole bunch of different things. But that's a way that you can actually get free dog training tips. You don't have to grab your phone. I know so many of us are trying to disconnect from our phones, but you don't have to get your phone. You just ask for the daily dog training tip. So again, just to recap that, how do you get your daily dog training tip? Well, one, you're going to enable Al's dog training tips from the Alexa skill store. Two, what you're going to do then is you're simply going to ask your device, Alexa, what's the news? When she hears that, she's going to serve up a daily dog training tip. All right, hey, and I'm going to put up a link for you guys real quick. I'm going to jump on over to the skill store. So any of you guys that are thinking about getting an Echo device, they're super cool. I love them. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 devices. I have 5 devices in my home. Really, really like all the things that they do. So here, I'm going to grab that real quick. See that they've updated the app, and I'm going to give you guys a link to be able to do that. Hey, if you don't have one of those devices, you can still use Alexa, because you can get the skills, the apps on your phone, and then you can do that. So, all right, here it comes. I'm going to grab that link for you guys just so y'all can see it. Okay, Al's dog training tips. There it is, and I'm going to share it. Copy that link, and now I'm going to come back here to the live show. There it is, and okay. So hey, if you're wanting that, I just put that up there for you guys. So hopefully that is helpful. But hey, it's a really, really cool skill. Okay, so I've got another question I'm going to go over here, see how we're doing on time. All right, we're about half an hour. So how do you train a food aggressive dog? It really kind of depends on the stage that the dog is, how far along the food aggression is. But here's some basics when you're actually thinking about a food aggressive dog. The very first thing that you want to do is you want to eliminate free feeding the dog, okay? I definitely wouldn't want to have any food on the ground, okay, for the dog to have, okay? Because the more, like anytime that a dog has a bowl and they're eating over it and a human comes close, they're going to growl. And if the dog growls and then you move away, that actually builds the aggression. Okay? So if your dog is food aggressive, if they're over their bowl of food, and if they growl and you leave and they continue to eat, you're going to build more aggression in the dog that way. So, 1, no free feeding for a dog, for a food aggressive dog, okay? This is a resource guarder. No free food for that dog. The other thing is that you can actually begin a protocol with the dog that has a leash on them, okay? And you actually have the food, and you're going to use kibble for this exercise. Throw 1 piece of kibble at a time down onto the floor and let the dog eat it. And then drop another one. You're probably going to drop 20 individual pieces of kibble down on the floor, one at a time. Now, you're going to have to kind of make a guess right here. When you've gone through those 20 or 30 pieces of kibble and you see that your dog is doing okay, if your dog's doing okay, then in the flat of your hand, you're going to want to put a piece of food right there, okay? Let's see if I've got one in my treat pouch here. I may not. Oh, yeah, I do. You're going to take your piece of kibble, okay? You're going to put it into your hand. I like to put it right here and then pin it underneath my thumb and then feed the dog with the flat of your hand. Feed the dog with your flat of your hand as they're eating the food out of there. This is after you've dropped the 20 or 30 of pieces of food on the floor and they have the leash on there. As you begin to do that, keep the leash on there, but then I want you to individually begin to feed the dog each piece. This is going to take you some time, especially if you have an older dog. Be very careful, though. If you're worried about it and the dog begins to growl at you or something like that, make sure that the dog doesn't get any food for about 5 to 10 seconds and use your leash to protect yourself and possibly discipline the dog. But definitely use the leash to create some space for yourself, okay? And definitely don't feed immediately after that. But those are the beginning stages that I would use to be able to work with a dog. Here's one other tip. Once you're a little bit further along in the process, you can actually put food out on the floor, have it spread out a large area of floor, hopefully like on tile or some kind of wooden floor. And with the dog having the leash on, you're going to let them get to a piece, maybe move them away, to defer back to you, give them another piece, they move away, and you begin to show the dog the new association of the food. So those are some tips that you can actually use to be able to help your food aggressive dog to begin to learn. But the big mistake there is to continue to bowl feed the dog, and I wouldn't probably do that for a month or 2 with a dog that's food aggressive. Okay, so, all right, and Along with this is a really good question because it's kind of stemming from the same thing. How do you teach a dog to give you something? Well, in the beginning, I like to create an even exchange, but even in an even exchange, I want the dog to exchange to something that has more value that is associated directly to me. So I could take something like this treat ball. I have them on a rope, and this is one of the ways that I train my German Shepherds. They'll be playing with this ball that's on a rope, and we'll be tugging with it. And then what I'll do is I'll isolate the ball to where it doesn't have any more movement whatsoever, and then I'll come out with a second ball. And when that second identical ball comes out, I put a lot of movement in it. Even though the balls are identical, if one ball that the dog has in its mouth is not moving and is not any fun anymore, then you increase the likelihood of the dog switching over to the ball that actually is in motion. When the dog switches, then I begin to play with the dog with the opposite ball, keeping a lot of motion in it. And I keep switching back and forth, back and forth. So as I do this with the dog, they're going to see that, hey, this guy's pretty fair and I can make an even exchange for things as I'm going through it. Then what I end up doing, and this really works well in my home and in so many of the homes I go in, I begin to teach this exchange in a hallway that's really closed off at the end, that kind of has that boxed in feature, whether it be the front door or a hallway with a wall at the end of it. Once I've been kind of doing this exchange, I'll throw one ball to the end of the hallway, and then when the dog turns around, I'll show them the second one and see if I can continue that exchange so that way the dog can give. But let me give you some mistakes that you can make when you're trying to teach your dog to give. Let's say that your dog has gone into your closet, has taken out your favorite pair of shoes, and then you begin to yell no while you're chasing your dog and your dog is running away. That is a big mistake, okay? Because one, your no is going to begin to mean that, hey, I'm faster than you. So it's going to lose some of its value if you do that. And then two, the dog is going to outrun you. The dog is also getting rewarded by the act of running. So I don't ever recommend that if your dog has something that you didn't want them to get, that you begin to chase them. Really what you got to begin to deploy is a lot of patience. And this is one reason that when we have young pups, they stay supervised. I keep doors closed so that way we don't give them the opportunity to do the things that we want. Now, let me give you a real world scenario for me, okay? I have a pair of shoes that I just bought recently that I really like. They mean a lot to me. They're kind of motivational shoes. So Gabby sometimes in the morning, if I don't get her quite enough exercise, she still wants more. She'll go into the closet in my bedroom and she'll pull out one of my favorite shoes. But I'm very lucky, and I wouldn't say lucky, I've just trained her. If she has one of those shoes, I can quickly ask her to let it go, or I can ask her to bring it to me, and then I know that she needs a little bit more attention. I won't reward her, if she ever runs away, but I will reward her if she brings the shoe to me, and I begin to do that. Now, I see a complication there. The complication is that she's going to use the shoe over and over, to get me to be able to engage with her. But I'll tell you that I do a pretty good job each and every morning of wearing my dogs out. So this doesn't happen a lot. It mainly happens when there is a ton of rain in the morning and I just can't quite get out there to them. But if your dog has something that's very valuable to you, don't run and chase after them. Encourage them to bring that back. And then when they do that, make it wonderful for them and tell them what a good dog they are, and maybe, stop whatever it is that you're doing and begin to engage your dog, engage their mind, and engage some of those different things that they can do. All right, so I think I've got one more question, and then I do want to share one more thing with you guys before we wrap up. And so the last question that I have, unless somebody asks one, is how often should you be practicing with your dog? I was thinking about this the other day. Every morning when I go out with my dogs, we probably do about 50 to 60 recalls. And recalls just another way of saying coming when called. It's just dog trainer speak. So we'll do 50 or 60 recalls. And that's just by playing fetch. I throw the ball. I see them get the ball in their mouth. I call them. They come back. I throw it again. So we have this really nice game. But I'm getting about 50 recalls every single morning. And so I began to think about how often I should practice with the dog. Well, the real answer is that you should practice as often as you possibly can, okay? You should use your food. You should use you should use the dog's food. And once the dog has received all their food for the day, you should still continue to train. That's where leash training and, those kinds of restraining types of tools can really help you. But you should also do training with your dog where you're using a ball. But every opportunity that you possibly have is one to train. Here's an example. I'm right here, and Fritz is in a down right there. Gabby is probably here somewhere, just relaxing. But they understand that when I'm sitting here and I'm working, that I really want them, to be calm. So I'm constantly practicing with them. So when I practice, it's not about having a training session with them, but really what it is, it's about the lifestyle that I want to live with my dogs and about the way that I want them to carry on. Not about like, hey, I have a session, I'm going to teach you how to, spin or how to weave my legs or how to walk backwards or any one of the cool things that you can train a dog to do. It really becomes about teaching the dog. Well, it's about having the lifestyle, practicing at every opportunity that you get. So, you want to be practicing with your dog when the doorbell rings. You want to practice when you're on a phone call. You want to practice when you just walked in the door. You want to practice when the annoying dogs are barking next door. Those are the times that you want to practice with your dog to be able to help them to understand what it is that you want. Because in that's where the dog is truly going to learn. It doesn't necessarily just learn in the teaching phase, but it really is going to learn in the practicing phase. So you can't possibly train too much, okay? But you can work a dog too hard. So those are two different things. I like to train a lot of calmness and a lot of being passive, and then activating my dogs to come into energy. But that's, really that's the answer to the question. Well, guys, I do have one more. Hey, Maria, thanks for joining in. I'm about to wrap up here in a moment, but hey, I want to give you just a couple of seconds if you have a question. But I did want to share something with everybody. Hey, thanks so much to everybody that's tuned in tonight. Okay, great, Maria. I see you have a question. I need help. Kaiser tries to eat our breath in the cold. He lunges at our face to protect us from the condensation that he sees. I know you a little bit, and do you think that could have anything to do with the bubbles? I bet you that it does. All right, so I'm going to make a little bit of example of Maria here. Maria, with her dog Kaiser, before I met, they had a game where they would blow bubbles, and her dog, Maria, your dog, would go nuts. And so, like at one point when we were training for his basic obedience, he kind of was getting out of control. And so I said, "Hey, you're going to have to take the game away from him." So I think, Maria, that your dog is actually thinking that the steam coming out of your face is the bubbles. So, like, kind of in a weird way, how could you use that? How could you use that to reinforce a behavior? That's the ultimate dog training question. Your dog has drive for the steam coming out of your face. So, okay, what behavior do you want? What excited or focused behavior do you want? And how can you reward him with the steam? Now be careful, because he's probably going to snap your face off if you do it. So, like any time that you're looking at what a dog does, and thank you for the compliment, but look, I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm not that smart. I've just made so many flipping mistakes that I've just learned a couple of things along the way. So here's the thing, okay? Anytime you're looking at a dog and you're looking at bad behavior, that's drive, that's focus. It's not bad behavior, it's just a competing motivator, right? So look at the thing. Look at the thing that the dog is doing. Step back and then begin to recollect your training and look and see, like, hey, does this thing that my dog is going after, is there a way that I could use this thing to help build something that's useful for us? And then, of course, you differentiate and show the dog that, hey, there's a difference between doing this and doing this. As you begin to do that, the dog's going to be like, oh, okay, so the steam coming out of their domes is meant to is the reward for doing this. You could turn the steam coming out of your head into a command. You could use leash pressure or scent. I'd use the leash and scent, make the steam, make him sit, and then the release could be that he holds it for a couple seconds, steam comes out of your face, and then that's the reward. Anyway, just something to think about. I'd love to see what you come up with. So, hey, well, guys, I do have one more thing to share with you guys. For anybody that's been following me for any amount of time, you guys kind of know that I'm like a tech nerd, okay? Like, I'm sitting right here. I've got my iPad. I've got the iPhone. I've got like this special microphone on the side of the iPhone. I've got an Apple Watch. I've got a camera. I've got another camera. I've got another camera. Well, man, I just have... I probably have a problem. I have a problem with technology. No, I don't. I like using technology because it really, it allows me to do a lot of different things. If I think about 10 years ago, if you wanted to be able to get get in front of a dog trainer, you were going to spend several $100s. You were going to spend several $100s, and you were just kind of hoping that the person that you were going to talk to, this dog trainer, was going to have something that was good. You really didn't have a good way to vet them other than, maybe, word of mouth. The internet was just, maybe more than 10 years ago. But like, technology and the internet is such an incredible thing. I can't tell you guys how happy I am to have the internet. So we're actually starting kind of a new chapter in the business of something we're trying to do. I have such a passion for you guys to help y'all. I love every single one of you guys. I so appreciate being able to be in your home, be able to help you to raise your dogs and teach you some of the things that I've learned over the past 13 years that I've been, as an adult living with dogs. But I realize that there's a limitation to what I can do. And the limitation is I can't be in every single home. I heard this number yesterday. There's 75 million dogs in the United States right now. That number just blows my mind. And as a country, we have some problems with our pets. Some of the problems are like, there's pets outside right now that are going to freeze to death. That's just a reality that some people don't know. Like, hey, my dog can't handle this kind of stuff. We had a post today. We were really astonished by it. It reached 11,000 people or something like that? It just reached some absurd high number of people where we were sharing like, hey, bring your dogs in from the cold. So the internet is just such a powerful thing that we're using to be able to spread our message. So I've got something brand new that I'm extremely excited about, and the prospect of what it's going to be able to do for so many families and so many dogs over the next 5 to 10 years. So going back to the beginning, I have a lot of technology, and one of the things that I've really been into is I've been into shooting videos in virtual reality. Well, recently I've made a fairly large investment that's going to allow me to bring virtual reality to you guys in a way that you've never, ever experienced before. Nothing like what you're going to see here in the next 12 minutes. No one has ever seen what I'm about to show you. So here's what we've done. I'm going to begin to create videos in 3-dimensional virtual reality. Here's what that means. That means that you're going to be able to put on a headset, and there's different types of headset. You're going to be able to put on a headset, and it's going to be like you're sitting there right in front of me, and you're going to get to be able to get one-on-one dog training, and it's virtually going to cost you nothing. So look, let me show you some different ways that you can actually go about experiencing this. If you have a computer, or if you have a television that has YouTube on there, you can go to any of our 3D videos that we're going to have, and the easiest way that you could watch it is by putting on these really cool anaglyph glasses, okay? So you've got, a red and blue glass. Now that's really old technology, okay? But you could go there and you could watch one of our 3D videos with a pair of anaglyph glasses, okay? Now, you could also, everybody's kind of seen these things, this is a VR headset. It's for a mobile device. You actually, pop it out. You pop your phone in there. I would pop my phone in there right now, but I'm using it to record this. You'd pop your phone in there, and then when you close it, in here you would be able to see some of our 3D videos. But now, one really great thing has happened is just a couple of days ago, YouTube announced that they're actually now going to be on this headset. This is called the Oculus Go. The Oculus Go, it's a fairly strong computer, not super strong, but fairly strong computer. And it comes with a little remote control. You know, what you do is, I'm going to look a little weird here. You take it and you put it on over the top of your head. And immediately when you do that, you're going to enter a virtual environment. And then you get this little controller right here that you're going to be able to look and see. So YouTube is now on here. And at 9 p.m. tonight on YouTube, plus here on Facebook, I'm going to have my first of many 3D virtual reality videos coming up to really give you insight on how it is that you can raise a very happy and a very reliable dog. We're going to show you some things that, like I said, have never been seen before. If you have a request for something, man, I sure would love to hear it, because I would love to show you what you and your dog can actually accomplish. And look, it doesn't cost a dime. It's absolutely for free, to watch this. So hey, that video is going to go live here on Facebook at 9 p.m. If you have one of these headsets, yes, you'll be able to watch it. You'll still be able to watch it on your phone. Okay, you'll be able to plug in and be able to get all the content, but you'll get that extra depth of dimension by simply getting a VR headset. Now, let me tell you something that I think is really cool. I look at this device and I look at this device. When I look at the two of them, and I see that artificial intelligence at some point is going to allow me to ask a question to my virtual reality headset. And then when I ask that question, that the virtual reality headset is going to give me 3D virtual reality content, I could see this. You could say, hey, how do I, okay, here's a question, okay. Yeah, you could ask the question, how do you train a food aggressive dog? You literally ask the question, and the next thing that your VR headset would do is it would give you a dog training session with me that you would be able to see the entire process, not through some explanation, but as if it was happening in real life. And that really, really excites me. So, well, hey guys, thanks so much for watching tonight. Oh, hey, Maria, I saw that you had some issues. Hey, send me some messages. Send me a message with what's going on with your app. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, would you record your interactions with it? I'd love to take that back to the developer and make that app, make that skill work as best as it possibly can. Well, hey, if you have the time, it would mean the world to me, and you would break my mom's heart if you didn't watch my video at 9 p.m. No, hey, look, it would mean the world to me if you guys would go and watch that video. And, okay, hey, share it for me. I'm going to share it in as many places as I possibly can. But there's some really good information right there in the video that's coming out at 9 p.m. It's both coming out at 9 p.m. on YouTube and here on Facebook. But please share my video. Please give us a like. Maybe drop a comment in there. It would mean so much to me. But hey, love each and every one of you guys. So appreciate y'all very, very much. If there's ever anything that I can do to you, I've devoted my life to helping you raise a happy and reliable dog, and I'm going to continue to do so. Well, thanks so much. Love you, and good night.